You want to tell us about the dog?
I'll just give you a quick overview on how we got to this point. And then
Nice to meet you. Phil is a phone.
What happened was
Phil's my brother.
116 Vining Street is residents that we're talking about. Tim Reardon, the owner of the property. Tim was in my office just visiting one day, and he told me he had some new people that were either moved in or moving into his property. He told me who they were. At that time, I told Tim, make sure he advises them that they're not allowed to have dogs in town. Tim says, well, what's the reason for that? I said, well, I took some dogs away from him over in Wall Lake, and just don't want to have dogs in town. March 19th is a Friday. Officer Norris was called to 111 Vine Street. A dog was attacked. The dog was attacked by a dog from 116 Vine Street. I was notified on Monday, so Monday morning I went over to Vine Street. I spoke to Mrs. Barnett to ask, is the dog still here or is it out of the city limits? At that time she told me the dog was, they had removed it, they took it to the Humane Society in Sioux City, which later I contacted and the dog was in Sioux City. Of course I was getting all kinds of calls that the pit bull, and the pit bull attacked another dog. It was not a pit bull. So I did verify that it was not a pit bull and that the dog was taken out of town. And at that time I told her that the other dog was going to have to go. And of course she didn't agree with me on that. A couple days later, Officer Norris came back to me and said, they really don't agree with the other thing. I told them they're going to be responsible possibly for the replacement of the dog, but at least the vet bills on the dog that was actually killed. Mike came in and advised me they're really not interested in paying any vet bill. They don't think it's their responsibility. So on, I believe it was the 24th, I went ahead and sent out a nuisance letter to them, along with the nuisances to clean up the property where they were living. And on the nuisance, I explained to them they need to get rid of the 2 dog houses in the backyard and all the dogs that they own. Later on, Mr. Barnett called and asked me to come over to the house. I went to the house to meet with him, and at that time he voiced his concern. He wanted to keep his dog. Didn't feel he should have to get rid of it. What can he do to keep it? I said, first of all, you need to work better with your neighbor on resolving the problem that got us to this point. And I said, the other thing you have to do is go to the city council. They're the only ones that can overrule my decision. So right now it's in the council's hands. I made the decision that I don't want him to have the other dog. Now since this time, I do want to say that the dog owner from the other property has stopped in. He came in last Thursday, and he said they've been real cooperative with him. They're working through the process of getting the bills paid for and things like that. So he's perfectly satisfied with what's happened since the time that I met with him in Thursday. So I guess the Barnetts are here there if they want to appeal the decision. They would like to keep the other dog. So that's where we're at now. They'd like to give their side of it.
Thanks, Ken.
Thanks, Ben.
Okay.
Good evening, council member. My name is Rich Barnett. Yes, I had a mishap with one of my dogs. Yes, I did make the comment. I didn't know if it was my point to pay it, for the simple fact of one thing. The dog collar on the dog that did the damage, somebody had opened it. The dog did not slip the collar. The collar was laying on the ground, attached to the leash, open. Just as if somebody went and took it, dug off the collar and took it in the house. I wanted a police officer to go look at this. Mike didn't want to do it, and of course by the time Ted had come down to talk to us, I had 24 hours to get rid of my dog. I did so. And in the first letter I got, which is this one, it states that if the dog is gone within 24 hours, this matter will be taken care of, and that I would possibly be my responsibility to take care of the other. In which the vet on the cremation waived it. There's a receipt. Here's a receipt that Mr. Stork went down and paid $132 on the vet bill. There's a receipt from Mr. Stork saying I paid him $140 in cash. Putting his dog to sleep cost $50. I paid that myself. There's another receipt. I take care of my dogs. I always have. I don't know if many of you know who Rick Hockey is at Wall Lake. He's known me for 10 years. He's hunted with me. He's hunted with my dog and his dogs. Here's a letter that he wrote up and signed for me. Since the day of the accident, my dog was due to have his shots done. So I did take my dog down, and the dog in which I want to keep, and had all his shots done, which cost me $101.25, which is paid in full. The dog has not been licensed in town because we talked to the mayor, and my wife did, and he suggested that maybe I ought to wait because that's not refundable, which if my dog is allowed to stay, he will be licensed as of tomorrow morning. Also in regard, I have a letter from the veterinarian here in town stating about the behavior of this dog. I do not know of any instances where the Lakeview Police has came to my house and taken a dog. I would like to see proof of that. I open every letter I get, whether I like it or not, bill or not. I respond to all my letters. I've been in this community now for 10 years. I've worked at Lakeview Concrete, now Hancock Concrete for 10 years. I'm a supervisor down there with many responsibilities, and I have to keep myself held up high to have that position. This dog is a very well-managed dog. If the council would like to meet this dog, he's actually sitting outside in my pickup. He wouldn't hurt a fly. I have 2 4-year-olds, a 6-year-old, and a 15-year-old in the house. I've never had a problem. They pull his ears, they pull his tail, playing with him. No instances. I've lived in Sac City for over a year before I moved to town here. No problems with the Sac City police with this dog. They said if anybody wanted to know anything about it, that they'd have to call up there and talk to the Sac City police. But like I say, I've had this dog. This is the dog I had in Wall Lake. I don't know whether I've been mistaken for somebody else, but I would like to see these documents.
Me to go ahead and read them?
Yeah.
I don't know what the policy is over in Wall Lake, but when I was called over to Wall Lake for this, it was because of 2 dogs. One dog, the yellow dog in question, was loose. We couldn't catch it. It's the reason that they still have it. The other dog was cross-tied between a garage and a house in the middle of the yard in the middle of the winter. Couldn't get the food or water. The neighbors were complaining about it. The dog hadn't been taken care of for 2 or 3 days.
Sir?
I just got this. I called over to the city of Wall Lake and said, first of all, after this happened, I went to the city and I said, do you want me to notify the owners of this, issue citations? What do you want me to do? They said no. When they come in to talk to us and let us know, hey, who took our dog or want to know where their dog is at, we'll handle it at that time. So it was left to the city of Wall Lake. So when this happened and I talked to him and he said, well, that wasn't my dog, I did go over and contact Marlene, who's the city administrator over there now. At that time she was, I don't know what her position was, but there was another guy there also. And I asked her if she could look through her records and give me any documentation they had as to what happened. And I just got this tonight, so actually nobody has a copy of it. And all it is a letter from Marlene stating that they called the police over to the residence, the reason that we were called over there, and the owner of the dog.